Living together before marriage, an Asian perspective in Australia. When it comes to relationships, cultures around the world see things very differently. One of the clearest examples of this is the idea of living together before marriage, or as many call it, cohabitation. In some places it's seen as totally normal, while in others, it's still treated like a big cultural taboo. Today we're going to talk about how many Asians view the concept of living together before marriage in Australia. This video is important because it doesn't just explore cultural differences, it also helps us understand how migration, relationships, and traditions collide when people move to Australia. If you've ever been curious about how Asian families react to this idea, or you've experienced it yourself, then stick around. By the end, you'll probably nod your head a few times and think, yep, that's exactly how it is. And before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, and drop a comment below. If you or someone you know has gone through this experience, your story could help others see how love and culture meet in real life. In Australia, living together before marriage is incredibly common. In fact, for many people it's almost a natural step in a relationship. Couples meet, fall in love, spend time together, and eventually they decide to move in. It's seen as practical, a way to test compatibility, share expenses, and build a life together. But here's where things get interesting. For many people from Asian backgrounds, this idea can still feel controversial. Families in countries like Sri Lanka, India, China, the Philippines, Vietnam, and others often grow up with the belief that moving in together before marriage is not proper. In many Asian societies, marriage comes first and then living together comes after. This creates a cultural clash. On one side you have Australian society where living together is normal. On the other side you have Asian parents and relatives who might still raise their eyebrows the moment they hear about it. Let's talk about the first reaction of many Asian families: shock. Imagine a daughter calling her parents back home and saying, "I'm moving in with my boyfriend in Australia." The phone line goes silent. Then comes the classic question, "What do you mean you're moving in? You're not married yet." For some families, it feels almost the same as saying you've already announced a wedding without telling them. For Asian parents, cohabitation often symbolizes a kind of step that should only happen after marriage. For them, living together without a wedding ring means the couple is skipping a key part of tradition. But here's the funny part. Many Asian students or migrants in Australia know this clash very well. So what do? They hide it. They say things like, "Oh, I'm just sharing a flat with some friends." Except those friends all happen to be one person. Their partner. Suddenly one toothbrush turns into two, one pillow turns into four, and flatmates means just one very important person. This secret cohabitation is something lots of young Asians laugh about. It's like living a double life, being independent in Australia while still carefully managing the expectations of family back home. Another important point is the generation gap. Younger Asians, especially those born or raised in Australia, often feel very differently compared to their parents. They grow up surrounded by Australian culture, where living together is completely ordinary. For them it feels natural. But when they go home and talk to their parents or grandparents, they quickly realize how much cultural weight this topic carries. This gap sometimes leads to arguments, but it also sparks conversations. Many young Asians spend a lot of time explaining to their families that cohabitation doesn't mean disrespecting traditions, it just means testing compatibility in a modern world. Now let's talk about why many Asians still hesitate about this idea. In Asian culture, there's a big emphasis on family reputation, social respect, and doing things in a proper order. Living together before marriage might make neighbors gossip. Aunties and uncles back home love to ask questions. And sometimes families fear that others will judge them harshly if they know their child is living with a partner unmarried. This pressure can be so strong that even if a couple personally believes in cohabitation, they might delay it or keep it a secret just to avoid family drama. It's not that they don't want to live together, it's that the cultural expectations are so heavy. On the flip side, let's look at the advantages Asians often discover after experiencing this in Australia. For example, many realize that living together helps couples learn about each other's habits. You find out who does the dishes, who hogs the blanket, who forgets to pay bills, and who eats the last slice of pizza. It's not always romantic, but it's real life. And many couples find that it actually makes their relationship stronger. Some Asians even joke that living together is the ultimate test before marriage. If you can survive sharing a bathroom for a year, marriage will be easy. Of course, not every Asian person sees this topic in the same way. Asia is a huge continent with many cultures. For example, in big cities like Tokyo, Singapore, or Bangkok, cohabitation is becoming more common. But in rural or traditional areas, it's still frowned upon. In the end, the experience depends a lot on where you come from, how strict your family is, and how much exposure you've had to Western lifestyles. In Australia, these cultural differences often create funny, awkward, and sometimes stressful situations. Imagine bringing your parents to visit your home in Australia. Do you introduce your partner as your flatmate? Or do you just say, "This is my partner and yes, we live together"? Many people go through this exact dilemma, choosing carefully how much truth to reveal based on who's listening. Another interesting part of this story is how Asian parents eventually adapt. At first, they might strongly disapprove. But after a while, when they visit Australia and see how happy and settled their child is, they often soften. Love has a way of convincing parents even if it takes time. Some even laugh later, saying, "We didn't like it at first, but now we see it makes sense." Now, let's not forget the humor in this situation. For example, many Asians living in Australia have mastered the art of explaining things differently to family back home. If they're living with their partner, they might call them a close friend, or a classmate who also cooks very well. Some even stage their living spaces before video calls, hiding toothbrushes, extra shoes, or even moving photos off the wall just to keep the illusion going. It's like living in a sitcom. But in the end, the real struggle and beauty of this situation is the balance between tradition and modernity. Asians who live in Australia are constantly walking this tightrope. They want to respect their families, but they also want to live their lives authentically in a society where living together is completely normal. This balance is not easy, but it's also a powerful example of how migration changes people. You learn to mix two worlds, your culture of origin and the culture of the place you live now. So, how do Asians see living together before marriage in Australia? The truth is, they see it with mixed emotions. Some with shock, some with curiosity, some with acceptance, and some with laughter. It depends on the family, the background, and the individual couple. But one thing is clear: the more people experience it, the more conversations it sparks, and slowly these cultural walls start to soften. If you're someone who's gone through this or you're thinking about it, share your story in the comments below. How did your family react? Did you keep it a secret or did you tell them openly? Your experience could help someone else who's in the exact same situation right now. And don't forget, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and hit the bell icon for more stories about life in Australia, cultural differences, and migration experiences.